ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनेति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So we are about to start the 7th session today, or the 7th topic of the series titled as Mind Management. And today's topic is about rewiring the mind. In other words, making habits, breaking habits. More sense, those who have been attending this series of presentations and have understood the whole subject matter. Why I say so? Let me just make a point. How many of you recognize that there are certain good habits that I have, and there are certain habits which I would like to classify into bad habits, which you think I would want to get rid of it? Everyone has that? A list of good habits, bad habits? Every one of us have that. How many of you have tried in your life to get rid of those bad habits and have found it to be very challenging? It's just like कुत्ते की पूछ 10 साल भी सीधी करके रखो फिर टेढ़ी हो जाती है, है ना? It's a very difficult thing. It ain't easy. Difficult is not because it's difficult. Difficult is just because we don't know how to deal with it, how to face with it. So, okay. We are kind of a little late. I thought I'll let you know what had been the subject matter. Maybe there is always some new guests, but that I would skip now. But I'll just walk you through with the topics that we have covered so far, and I'll just let you one-line statement what the topic was. Beginning with the very first topic titled as Kabhi Khushi, Kabhi Gham, that was the first part of presentation, where you kind of talked about who suffers, who enjoys. A very, very fundamental question of life. Who is experiencing the happiness, who is undergoing the misery? Vedic scriptures, which are actually Vedic science, gives us an altogether different understanding of life. Altogether different understanding. How we look at it, what are our perceptions, all that changes when we understand Vedic science. So that was the subject matter. 3 questions we had raised in that presentation. Who am I? Who suffers and enjoys? And what is the purpose of life? As life is all about Kabhi Khushi, Kabhi Gham. Many times you might have heard people say, Jeevan ka naam hi yahi hai. Kabhi Khushi, Kabhi Gham, tararam tam, tararam tam. No, it's not like that, not necessary. So that had been the subject matter. In the second part of this topic, we had established it is mind. We exist at 3 levels: the soul, the mind, and the body. It is a mind which undergoes all these experiences. We have spoken an example of a movie, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham, if you remember, Ghazni, many other things we have discussed about it. And by the end of the second topic, we have come to a clear understanding without a doubt. It is not the body, it is not the soul, it is a mind which only undergoes the experiences of suffering or happiness. And we have given you a solution, 4-step solution, how to deal with it. That was the series called Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham. Then we moved on to the third topic, from chaos to calm. Mind management for a stress-free life. So subject matter of this particular topic was, what's the nature of the mind? Now we understand mind is a culprit. What is its nature? And we are talking about mind management. Before we get into managing the mind, we need to understand, if I don't manage the mind, what would be the consequences? Second chapter, verse number 62 and 63 is what we had discussed. Dhyayato Vishyantumsa. So all these presentations that we have done, unlike today, but all these presentations that we've given, it all came from Bhagavad Gita, largely based on Bhagavad Gita and supported by the modern concepts and modern understanding on the subject matter. And along with that, we also talked about how our mind is trained up, how the mind interacts with the body, which means the senses, and what inputs you feed. So to put it into a very simple format, like you have in a computer has an input devices, and there is an operating system, and there's an output device, isn't it? So input devices are our senses, knowledge acquiring senses. Output devices are called as working senses. Through input senses or through this input devices called as knowledge acquiring senses like eyes, ears, nose, tongue and touch, our operating system, that is mind, gets an input. What kind of input it gives, accordingly the nature of the mind gets ready. If you remember the example of watching a horror movie late night show, and when you come back home, what happens to you? We have discussed all that. Then next topic was building resilience, where largely we talked about, now we have understood the nature of the mind, now we have understood if we don't take, life's control, or let's say if we don't take a control of a life in our hand, mind takes us for granted. It's like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, controlled mind is the best of the friend, uncontrolled mind is the worst of the enemy for a living entity. So in this particular topic, we talked about largely how does the body and mind interacts. And we also spoke about the tips, the methodologies for controlling mind. So on this body-mind subject matter, I had quoted a French scientist, Descartes, who actually back in 17th or the earlier 18th century had actually coined the problem called as body-mind problem. In other words, scientists were trying to understand body which is gross, mind which is subtle. It's not something which you can touch it, it's not tangible. How does this body interact with the mind? And for that, to help you understand, I had given an example. According to the law of any country, any nation, they say you are the owner and proprietor of the body. And I'd explained, you imagine you're into the hospital and you have to undergo a surgery. Unless you sign a paper, give a permission to doctor to operate on you, nobody can operate on you. So day in, day out life gives us our experiences of day in, day out, propels this idea, I am the controller. I am actually controlling it. Then I quoted medical science, biology, according to which central operating system or the way of a body function depends on nervous system. Nervous system are of two types, somatic and autonomous. Somatic and autonomous. Somatic means which you do willfully. Only constitutes 5% of your activities. 95% activity in your body happens automatically, like breathing, the blinking of the eyes, inhaling, exhaling, Hare Krishna. थोड़ा शांति से बात करो, आप बारिश के मजे ले रहे हो, अच्छी बात है. So inhaling, exhaling, the filtering operation of the liver, lungs, etc., the beating of the heart beating, is none of these are controlled by us. So scientists recognize, the science recognize 95% activity within us does not happen according to our choice. Yet our experience tells us we are the controller. And I did a simple exercise. Everyone, raise your hand. So because you decided raise your hand, you raise your hand. And that's where I had brought a problem of paralysis. If it looks like because I think, my mind thinks, thinking, feeling, willing are the three functions of the mind. Because my mind thought and it decided to will, therefore the body acts. Therefore I raised the question of paralysis. Well, somebody who has got a paralysis, the limb or the hand or the leg is still there. How much ever you can think, how much ever you feel about it, how much ever you will, you cannot move the body. This is a very super fast synopsis of what we have discussed so far. Then I raised a big question mark. Who controls the body? Because now with this analysis, you're not the controller. Because you are the controller means we generally say mind is a controller, but mind is not the controller. Because mind doesn't do that for everyone. Particularly when you have paralysis, things like that. It gives us a perception, a kind of an illusion that we are controlling it, but we ain't. In chapter that's the time we had concluded that there is a supreme personality of Godhead, who is the one who spoke Bhagavad Gita and himself declares himself to be the supreme personality. Not he only, Arjuna declares him, Krishna, to be the supreme personality of Godhead. Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram Idam Uttamam. Like that the verses comes. So that was a discussion up to the fourth topic. So far, largely, if you see, we have discussed about what's the nature of our life. Who am I? We exist at three levels. And if I am a soul, then who is the source of the soul? We identified there is a supreme personality of Godhead who is the source. Like that, we have discussed it. All the problems that I'm experiencing in my life is just because of uncontrolled mind. Why? Because the life's control is not in my hand. I've given it to the mind, and mind decides whatever it has to do with it. Wants to be happy, happy. Wants to be disturbed, is disturbed. So far, this was discussed. This is all the summary of what I've just told you. Then we move to the fifth topic, dealing with anxiety, which is a widespread phenomenon. They talked about COVID endemic, but far much more pandemic than that epidemic is anxiety, mental disorder. And we started this discussion with quoting a case study of Heath Ledger, a famous Hollywood actor. At the age of 32, very young age, he died because of overdosage of sleeping drugs. And there I raised a point for those of you who were present. He had a tremendous name, fame, he had tremendous wealth with him. He could influence so many people because of his whatever profession skills that he had, but he failed to influence his own mind because his mind became so restless. When he would try to fall asleep, his mind will not sleep, allow him to sleep, so agitated. Therefore, he had to take a sleeping drug. And for weeks, he had not slept. He became so frustrated, he took the whole box of medicine and gulped it. And because of that overdosage, he died. According to World Health Organization, every year 2 million people die because of mental disorders. You do a quick calculation, it means every second a person in the world is dying because of mind-related diseases. By the way, this is the statistics before COVID. It is expected after COVID, it has increased a lot. So dealing with anxiety, we spoke about it. Again, this is the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna asked the question to Krishna, Atha kena priyaptoyam papam charati purusha. My dear Lord, I know I don't want to do this, yet I am forcefully pushed into doing this. And after that, I regret it. How many of you had that experience? You're like, no, I don't want to do it. And you end up doing it, and then you regret. Please raise your hand. Yeah, that's a question of a life. Arjuna asked this third chapter, Bhagavad Gita, 36th verse. And then we talked about it, Krishna, what the answer Krishna gives, and all that. So that was the subject matter for this series. This is a summary. For those of you who have attended, you will understand that. And then we came to the sixth topic, titled as cognitive development. Now we have spoken about how does the body and the mind interact. But how does the mind and intelligence interact? So those of you remember Mithu Lal Mithai Wala example? So that's what we discussed. How intelligence is a decision maker, mind is a storehouse of past experiences. And through the input and output senses, the body performs action like that. And like this we discussed, and in this subject matter, after describing about the mind and intelligence interaction, we also spoke about spirit soul. So question arises, to whom does the spirit soul belongs to? Same Bhagavad Gita which educates us on the subject matter, same Bhagavad Gita, the science of Bhagavad Gita teaches us, the nature of soul is to be Satchitananda, eternity of knowledge, full of bliss. So question arises, why am I suffering? That was a part of the session we discussed in this presentation and so forth. So far, if we understand what we have discussed, which brings us to this topic called as all problems in our life is only because of one thing, impure mind. Are you on with me? Agreed? All problems in our life is only because of unchaste or impure or contaminated mind. The yoga, the science of yoga, the fundamental step of science of yoga is to purify one's mind. That is what the art and the process of yoga is all about. Until the time the mind remains impure, till the time we will struggle with the bad habits, to leave the bad habits, and will struggle to hold on to the good habits. And the result would be such, the bad habits will keep on increasing, amplifying, and the good habits will continue to dwindle. Yes or no? We have experienced this. So, here is my question to begin with today's presentation. Have you wondered why people today are so prone to complaining? And as a result, they are always agitated. How many of you have seen people have gone more habituated or addicted to finding faults or complaining, ye missing hai, ye nahi hai, wo nahi hai? How many of you agrees? It's quite. And if you look at how many of you agree we have far better standard of living and comfort than the previous ages, but we have become far much more conditioned to complain about. How many of you agree that we often miss out on appreciating each other? We never, genuinely say thank you. I really appreciate what you've done for me. Thank you, mother. I came late. You still stayed up for me and prepared the hot chapati for me. How many of you agree we often don't do that? Isn't it? So we miss out on appreciating and loving each other. And have you wondered, rather than being grateful for the Supreme Lord for providing us all the facilities, everything, see, today man is trying to compete with the Lord. What has competition have done it? Go back 100 years, talk to your grandparents. They used to drink a fresh river water, flowing river water. They didn't had. While I was growing up, I had never ever imagined that I would grow and live in a time when when water would be paid facility. When we'll have something called as filter at our homes. How many remember growing up and drinking a direct tap water? And look, today, can you dare to drink a tap water? Probably you cannot dare to drink a tap water today. So what a man has done has only contaminated the God-given gifts. The fact that you're living today, the fact that you're able to breathe today, your body is functioning, that itself is an evidence of grace of the Lord. Every morning when we wake up, how many people in this world today, in today's scenario, when they go off to sleep, they don't wake up? We all aware of that? Heart attack is so often. People, and generally heart attack comes in the early morning hours. It's around Brahma Murta time. Therefore in Vedic culture it is said, wake up before Brahma Murta time so you'll not get heart attack only. But people don't understand that. They keep sleeping up to 10 o'clock and they get heart attack. I'm not joking. You can check with the doctor. Between 4 to 6 a.m. in the morning is the time when maximum patients get a heart attack. And our culture had been, you go and check with your grandparents, everyone used to wake up by 4 o'clock. Yes or no? कितने लोगों ने अपने माँ बाप से सुना है, बच्चा जल्दी उठा करो, सुबह जल्दी उठोगे तो पढ़ाई अच्छी होगी. That's our culture is a basic fundamental science. They call Vedas to be mythology. I would like to call today's science to be mythology. They're teaching mythology to be a science and the science has been rejected as a mythology. So the fact that I can wake up in the morning, shouldn't we have a smile on our face? Thank you, my dear Lord, for giving me a one more day and one more opportunity to be kind and loving to each other. Just for a second, think about it. Think about it. I don't wish it. I'm not indicating it, but think about it. If it today happens to be a last day, for so many people it happens to be last day. How many of us will go away with the regret? Oh my goodness, I missed my mother. I saw my father, or I saw my mother, or I met my friend, but I parted away with an angry mood. Why I had to become so angry? Why I had to complain to them? They have done so much for me. Couldn't I have said thank you? And now I have to pass away from this world with that regret that I couldn't say thank you to them. Yes or no? There's a thought, this is a thing which you need to think about it. Point is, imagine you're living a life like this, where your heart is filled with gratitude, where you have the quality of expressing and saying thank you. Be grateful to others. How many of you would agree, even if you're not financially well off, you are far better with yourself, at peace with yourself? How many of you agree with that? Even if you have everything, but if your mind is complaining, can you ever be happy? So the point is, why have you become like this? All of you are probably engineers. None of your engineering degree or up to your 12th standard, ever this was discussed. So what education we have got, it only teaches us how to make a money. But it doesn't teach us how to use that money or how to make a living. Living a life and making a money is all two different things. That's the subject matter. How to make a living or how to live a life is a subject matter of Bhagavad Gita. So why it is? Old habits die hard. So the today's subject matter is going to be on two things: how to deal with past conditionings, past habits, and how to cultivate newer positive conditionings. All right. So before I go forward, okay, let me start with it. So today's topic title is Rewiring the Brain, Techniques for Overcoming Addictive Behaviors and Cravings. Now, what is this addictive behaviors and cravings? We have discussed that in the previous topic. As I said, Arjuna asked Lord Shri Krishna, by what I am impelled to do sinful actions. How many of you have experienced we are pushed into doing some things, at times unwillingly? Yes, we have already discussed that. So what we are discussing here is to make ourselves so strong that those pushings cannot push us only. We decide what responses to be given. How often our responses are kind of, automated. Anything would happen like this, suddenly our response would be like this. We have got, this is called as conscious and subconscious mind. That's a detailed subject matter. We will not go into that. But we all have got habituated with a certain response to a certain situation. So what we are trying to do it, we cannot change everything at the given point of time, but many things you can change if you understand that you have the power, you have the will, you have the strength to take the control of your life in your hands. Don't let it be in the hands of the mind. Let me give you an example. You know how this pushing thing really destroys us. There was a group of friends who were traveling on a ship on a vacation, and they were on the deck and they were talking about, they were boasting about how great they are. Three friends talking to each other. One friend said, well, I can swim up to into the deep ocean, and I can swim and swim back to the coastline. Now those of you who have ever swam on the ocean, it's not that easy. You have waves, they can toss you up and down. He said, I can swim while into the deep into the ocean and come back safely, nothing going to happen. The other friend said, oh, what's the big deal in it? When the ship is going, I can jump from the ship, swim around and come back onto the ship. अब तीसरे वालों को लगा फेंकना है तो और से ज़्यादा फेंकना होगा. तो तीसरे वाले ने बोला, what is this? What's the big deal in it? Well, you can only jump and come back while the ship is moving in the deep of the ocean. I can jump from the ship and I can save the drowning man and hold it onto my shoulder and bring it back him to the ship. तो लोगों ने बोला, अरे यार ये तो बहुत अच्छी बात है, इससे ज़्यादा क्या फेंकेंगे अभी? Okay, all right. They were just thinking like this. Suddenly there was a chaos at one corner of the deck. If ever any one of you have been on the ship, ship is like a big, you can say, what, Blue Ridge Society kind of a thing. Huge. Thousands of people travel at one point of time. So at one corner of the deck of the ship, there was a huge chaos. There were people screaming. All three friends went running over there. They said, what happened? What happened? What happened? They said, oh, there was one child over here. He was getting his selfie clicked and suddenly he slipped and fell into the ocean. Somebody have to save him. Somebody have to save him. And they all were looking, who is that Rambo here who's going to jump into the ocean? Suddenly the man who said, I can jump into the ocean and save a drowning man and come back, apparently he jumped. He seriously jumped. And all the friends were thinking, yaar, isne mazak seriously le liya. Hum to phek rahe the, to sahi mein kood gaya. He jumped into the ocean, and as you know, there are those rope lines, those were thrown into the ocean from the ship. And eventually, finally, one of the sailor got down, and everyone saw that there were three people coming back. One of the sailor, the ship employee, whatever you want to call it, and then the hero who jumped to save the drowning man or the boy, and all three of them came up, and there was a big uproar, big clap for the bravery of this young man to save the life of the boy. And everyone was congratulating him, so great, what a fantastic thing, you risked your life. This is not a stationary ship. The ship is moving, and the speed of the ship is very fast in the ocean. And you jump from that, how brave of you. And this fellow was literally unconscious. He was literally unconscious. And finally, when he came back to his consciousness, वो देख रहा था क्या चल रहा है, and everyone is glorifying him. He said, wait a second, पहले ये बताओ मुझे धक्का किसने मारा? Who pushed me? You tell me that. So anyways, so we're kind of living a life where we are pushed and keep getting into crisis. But what we're talking about, take control of your life rather than living a life where you're pushed always. So human being is a very interesting species. Let's take a look at it. Matter of fact is, it's not that only you are struggling. Every species is struggling for survival. For mouse, well, there is a lot of greens available, but then there is a desire trap. When the mouse sees a cheese, gets attracted and eventually gets trapped and gets killed. Similarly for a fish, there is abundance of, we can say, the plants and herbs available into the ocean, but still because the desire trap gets caught with the hook and eventually being caught into it, gets killed. Now, if we talk about why they do so, the explanation is simple, what to do. These are simple, less intelligent animals. They didn't knew about it. It's a trap. And they were hungry. So they had no other alternative. So they thought food is for survival and they need to leave. So they have to have that, and eventually they died. Now let's talk about the intelligent species, which is human being. It's pretty interesting. Think about it. As an intelligent human being becomes victim of a desire trap to those things which comes with a big letter statutory warning. धुआं फूकोगे लंग फट जाएगा, शराब पियोगे तो लीवर फट जाएगा. It comes with a statutory warning. Yet this intelligent species gets trapped and dies. Statistically, more deaths after statutory warning. You know, there was a law came that any such things should have a warning. Well, it has not made any difference. No sales of alcohol, cigarettes, anything have gone down. It has not increased. So question arises, what explanation would you have for this intelligent being? For the poor creatures, for the mouse or the fish, okay, they were less intelligent. There was no warning so that they could have saved themselves. So because of the desire, they couldn't control the desire, they became trapped. And they didn't knew it was a trap, they died. What about in the case of a human being? Well, what explanation are there to give? They knew it's a trap and it was not a necessity for their survival. Fish was caught with a bait where she saw or he saw that there is a food. So food is for my survival. Similarly, the mouse saw cheese for survival. Now the cigarette or you say alcohol or many other things like this got nothing to do with our survival. So question is, neither it is for survival, and on top of it, the intelligent human being knew it's a trap, but it still became a victim of it. That is called as a desire trap. The moment we begin to live our life based on desires, then it leads to only crisis. The function of intelligence is to discriminate and make a determination. Discriminate between what is right, what is wrong, and make a determination to follow the right. Therefore, these are the two functions of intelligence. And if you see this desire trap, the advertisement industry that has been created around us is only to put us into this desire trap. Yes or no? That is what the function of this advertisement industry. You'll have a nice, interesting advertisements, movies, cinemas, whatnot. It shows you those things by which you become more and more victim to your desires. So let's come to it. What is a habit? A habit is an acquired behavior or a thought pattern that is performed unconsciously. There are two states of mind, conscious and subconscious. All these actions, unconscious actions, are performed under the subconscious state. Conscious state, where you understand it, you see it, and then you will for it. Subconsciously, it's just like when you wake up in the morning, you go to the bathroom. Do you really pay attention in which hand are you holding the toothbrush? Probably not. Let's say you're driving a car. Those of you accustomed to driving a car, do you really pay attention? Your feet is on the right or the left feet is on the accelerator or on a brake? If I ask you, probably it might take a second for you to figure it out. Where is the accelerator or brake, isn't it? They have gone into an unconscious mind. So all these subconscious activities are unconscious activity, which means for example, let's say driving or let's say toothbrush. Because every day you're doing it, that had gone into a subconscious mind, wherein, this is how the mind functions, wherein now you would not think about it. Just imagine, you get into the car, you sit in the driving seat, you are distracted all over the place. Maybe you're speaking on the phone. How many times people while talking on the phone get into the car, ignite the car, put the gear and start the car, isn't it? There is no thought put into it. That is what is called as habit. It's at subconscious level, you're not aware of it. However, before we move ahead of it, let's do one simple exercise. All of you have a smartphone. I don't see there is a pen and paper, but take out your smartphone quickly. With this presentation would make more sense if we become a little practical. I'll not go too much in details, but I'll give you a little high level. So take a 10 seconds or maybe 20 seconds, write one bad habit that you want to give away, and write down one good habit that you want to cultivate, because I'm going to give you the steps for it. So when I'm giving you the steps for it, so it's good that you think on that particular habit that you have which you want to give up and cultivate. Quickly take 5-10 seconds and write down. One habit that you want to, bad habit that you want to give it up, and one good habit that you want to acquire for yourself. Hare Krishna. All done? Pakka? Good habit likha? Bad habit likha? दोनों लिखा या भी लिख रहे हो? वैसे कोई बैड हैबिट है या नहीं है? है? Okay, good. Don't write too many bad habits also, huh? Let's work on first one bad habit. Then you can, at home, at leisure, you can keep dealing with your bad habits. So how does habit functions? Let's take a look at it. Habits die very hard. It's going to be super quick. If you're attentive, you'll catch it. What's going on? All right, all right. I'll be quick. I'm not going to explain everything. So let's talk about how these habits are created. So what we're going to talk about here is where I'm going to give you some skills, some techniques where you're consciously going to apply and create habits. But matter of fact is all of us have already created many habits, good and the bad. How those habits have been created. This actually is a 2-hour workshop, but can't have it really. I'll see how much I can cover today. I'll extend it to the next session, but let's see. We'll go with it. So everything begins with a desire. Are we clear with that at least? Everything begins with a desire. We are standing on this Tamanna hotel. How did this Tamanna hotel came into existence? The owner of this had a desire कि जमीन पर एक होटल बनेगी. Yes? It's not that suddenly you wake up in the morning and there is a hotel. It all begins with a desire. Now question is, where do you get desires from? You have good desires and bad desires also. Where do you get your desires from? Any thoughts? From where do you get your desires? From the surroundings. Correct? Yes. Imagination. कहाँ से आए आंसर? Imagination. Imagination से desire आता है. Okay. What else? Expectation. Dreams. Desires I'm talking about. Huh? Pleasure. I mean, the young boy gave the correct answer up in the front, in the beginning. Surrounding. What else? Huh? Lalach. Lalach itself is a desire. Huh? Upbringing. Correct. Surrounding. Upbringing. Same thing. Okay, fine. Let's take a look at it. First is previous karma. You know, all of us, if you notice, look at it, we all have born with different set of likes and dislikes, isn't it? Even if you do a case study and investigate a case where you have twins born, although if you look at it biologically, they are more or less same. They have the same DNA, genetic code is same, but yet their likings and disliking, they're quite different. It's because of past life, previous karma. Second is sense objects, you know, what you deal with. And the third is association, that is surrounding. Surrounding means both association and objects. Object means what you see, what you hear, what you eat, everything. That means upbringing and surrounding like that. That thoughts and desires leads to action. Remember we talked about if you do not do mind management, what will happen? And the conclusion was everything begins with dhyayato vishayan pumsa. It all begins with thinking, contemplation. So what we think is what results into an action. That action, as the law of karma says, results into a reaction. Reaction is of two levels. One is psychic. Psychic means at a subtle body. And there is a physical reaction. Physical reaction means if somebody has done a sinful activity, then he will get imprisoned. There would be some temporary pain and pleasures like that. And what is psychic means? Because he has done that action, it creates an impression behind with a longing and an hankering to do it again. Let's take a very simple case study. If in case you had been yourself a party to it or you have seen anyone around it. You can learn a lot around if you observe people. Let me take a case. For example, smoking. I don't want to get into the case study of smokers right now, that's not my subject matter. But just want to say smoking. Now, what's so special about it? There is enough of smoke anyways outside. Put a mouth with an exhaust pipe. Why pay for a smoke? I mean, just logically talking about it, yes? Now, if you have ever smoked in your life, It's very terrible. I remember I was a very young boy, and my dadi and nani, they were jamindar, so they had a servant. So he had accompanied me to a shop, and in that shop he was smoking. वो बीड़ी आती थी ना, and I was a young boy, so I said, अरे तू क्या कर रहा है? मैं भी करूँगा. उसने बोला मत कर, बहुत डांट पड़ेगी. मैं करे. So and long story short, I pushed him. No, I need to do it. So he put it on my mouth and he told me, you have to inhale, and then you have to. In my overexcitement, I didn't heard the second part. I only. How many have that experience? You know, when we're overexcited to something, we don't hear it fully. So in my overexcitement, I didn't heard the second part. I only heard the first part. Inhale. मैंने पूरे जोश से inhale मारा. और सारा का सारा धुआं. What had happened is, you know, he had been a very pro smoker. So when he was smoking na, he was producing all kind of foam from all the holes. So I got attracted to that. I didn't knew what it is. मैंने कहा वाह यार, ऐसे फूकते हो और ऐसा धुआं निकलता है, कान से धुआं, नाक से धुआं, वो रोल बनाकर. तो मैंने कहा मैं भी ट्राई करूँगा. That was my idea. So he said, okay, you inhale and then you exhale, which I didn't hear it. I inhaled and really inhaled. मैंने कहा मैं ऐसा सर्कल बनाऊंगा वो भी देखता रह जाएगा. But I thought it will happen automatically. And I inhaled and I really inhaled. It really went deep down. But I didn't know how to take it out. And I fainted. And I really had to push my back and, you know, somehow dhakka maar ke smoke nikala tha. So, I mean, that was the only time and the last time I ever touched it. The point I'm saying is, if I look back to it, I very clearly remember I maybe up to a first grade student, first or second class, maybe younger than that, so young I was. It was a very bitter experience. When I smoked, it kind of created a burning sensation in my body. If any one of you have done it, you would ever know about it. So question is, it created a burning sensation. Nobody can ever say when they smoked, it really gave them a pleasure. The question is, yet people do it again. Of course, there is a surrounding, there is a peer pressure and whatnot. The two reactions are created whenever we do any action. One is temporary pain and pleasure. Second is a psychic where there is a lingering thought. I should do it again. And that's how this works. And that's how the science of habits. So that's the reason whatever you are today, you know, life is all about choices. Choices depends on the surrounding. The choices determines your destiny. But the choices that you make creates your habits. So whatever habits have been created so far have been created only because of this reason. And that's how it all works. So we have discussed about this concept before. So intelligence, I already said, has two functions, discrimination and determination. And we have discussed in the previous session. In the relationship of science, senses, mind and intelligence, intelligence is the superior most. If you look into this diagram, this is a living entity. Intelligence is the charioteer. And the reins of the horses is the mind, and the horses refers to the senses. If the driver knows how to drive, if intelligence is strong, has a strong determination power and has a clear discrimination, then intelligence, being the charioteer, can really control the horses. So that's the point here, intelligence. And how do we tune up the intelligence? We have discussed in the past. I'll also speak about it in today's discussion. How do we really make the intelligence stronger? So, role of habits. I spoke that already. Life is made of choices. Choices made of destiny, and habits activate our choices. So we make habits, and then habits makes us. As I said, there's an important thing. Maybe we can repeat after me. Watch your thoughts. No, let's do the. I'll say the first thing. You see the second part of the line. Okay. Watch your thoughts. Watch your words. Watch your actions. Watch your habits. Watch your character. That is what you are today. It all began with thoughts. Dhyayato Vishyantum. And how the thoughts are created? Past life, surrounding, association, and sense object. What kind of movies, what kind of books, what kind of radio shows we are listening. It all affects our thoughts. And from that you get your desires, imagination, everything comes from that. And then that's how the whole thing functions like that. All right. So good habits, what are good habits? Just to define it simply, such habits which enhance our overall experience of life can be called as good habits. Bad habits are those which really has a potential to damage our career, relationships, personal lives, So much so, we are not even aware of it, that it has a detrimental effect on our life. How many of you would agree to that? How many of you had an experience, somebody comes and tells you, this thing about you, I don't like it. It could be as simple as, let's say, biting the nails. And you think, अरे क्या गलत है इसमें? तेरा क्या जा रहा है? मैं अपना नाखून काट रहा हूँ, तेरे को क्या problem है? Well, as simple as that. So there are many things that we don't even recognize at times, but actually it has a detrimental effect on our life and relationship. Some examples, quick examples here, like being late for work or meetings. I mean, I don't want to speak too much on that, because I don't think so I have the right today to speak on that. I myself got late, but just give me an excuse for today, no problem. But how many of us have kind of used to it, isn't it? Thinking negatively, gossiping, addiction to TV, internet, intoxication. We know that the bad effects of all this thing. Resisting change. If there is a good suggestion, at the end of the war at Mahabharata, Kurukshetra, when the war ended, then Duryodhana was cursing Krishna, that Krishna, you are responsible for all this thing. Then everything well and said, then Krishna said to Duryodhana, Duryodhana, do you know who is responsible for this war? It's only you. And you know why you are responsible for it? Does anyone know? What does Krishna says to Duryodhana? How many of you have seen Mahabharata serial? Raise your hands. Again, नाटकों में नहीं दिखाया जाता. नाटकों में तुम्हें रोमांचक चीजें दिखाई जाती, मसाला दिखाया जाता है, शिक्षाएं नहीं दिखाई जाती. So what did Krishna said? Duryodhan, what's your mistake? And Krishna said, Duryodhan, you never heard or took seriously the good advice of your seniors. Gandhari told him, Bhishma Pitama, Vidurji, Vyasdev, Krishna himself went as a messenger. So, resisting change. How many of you have had experience? People say, मैं ऐसा ही हूँ, स्वीकार लो, बदलूंगा नहीं. Yes or no? This is what I am, resisting change. You are coming in the parampara of Duryodhana. You know what's going to happen if you do that. So, you may say, Prabhu, what's the big deal in it? But these things change your destiny, affect everything about you. Then being defensive, I don't want to go in details of it, but fine, procrastinating. These are a topic in itself to discuss. Let's move forward. Let's begin with the second part of discussion. So far what we have discussed is what is habit, how habits are created, whatever good and bad habits you have, how they have been created so far. What is a good habit, what is a bad habit, and some examples of habits is what we have discussed so far. Alright, let's move on to the second part of the discussion. How a habit is created, not how a habit, how to form a habit. Are you ready? You have your good habit in your mind? So I'm going to give an example of a habit that is book reading. Imagine you want to cultivate a habit, a good habit of reading Bhagavad Gita every day 15 minutes. How many of you would say it's a challenge? Even if I decide, I'm convinced about it, but to read it every day based on my fantastic past and the promises that I've broken all this while, I'm super confident it ain't going to happen. Raise your hand. Right? Sharmao nahi, khada karo hath. 200% sab कहने वाले हैं. So now take a look at it, how we're going to do it. So there are 3-step formula to create any good habit. And actually it's the same thing how the bad habit is created. I'm not going to give you an example of bad habit. We already have enough. So let's focus on creating good habit. So first is trigger. The very first step is trigger. What trigger means, if you want to cultivate a habit or build a habit of reading Bhagavad Gita, you need to have a hard copy. Don't depend on a soft copy. How many of you had an experience you have opened, let's say, a laptop or a smartphone, and suddenly a WhatsApp message came, or Facebook, Instagram notification came, and you entered the world of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. After half an hour, you're wondering, why did I came to my smartphone? How many of you had that experience? So, don't touch it. So if you want to cultivate a habit, first of all, have a very clear understanding about yourself. Don't undermine these things. These are the facts. And you can't struggle with it. You can't change it. So if you want to cultivate a habit of reading book, don't say I'm going to read on a soft copy. It ain't going to work. So get a hard copy. Now you've got a hard copy of Bhagavad Gita. What next? Trigger. Trigger means you should be reminded again and again that I had to read it. So you got a hard copy. Now where can you keep it so that you're reminded? The best place is next to your bed. The best place is next to your bed, because whenever you will go to sleep, oh, Bhagavad Gita, trigger. I should be reminded every day. Is that clear so far? Which means should be reminded as much as I can be. That's the trigger. Second part of creating a good habit is routine. Function of intelligence is discrimination, determination. Being a human being means, to say I am a human being means I have the power of determination. If I decide something, I can do it. That is not expected of animals, but that is what expected of humans. You can do it, we all can do it. So routine means now to say to your mind, every day for 15 minutes, I am going to read Bhagavad Gita, period. But that has to happen after trigger. You getting it? So many times we might have said like this, but we didn't follow the step one. We didn't create the trigger. We didn't have the hard copy. Even we had the hard copy, we didn't kept it in a place where it can be seen again and again. After doing the step one, then come to step two. Routine means you tell yourself and you do whatever it needs to be. Best way to do it is you tell others about it that I have made a choice to read every day 15 minutes. You'll be under peer pressure. What I do is anyone who wish to cultivate, we create groups. We create a WhatsApp group where a like-minded people are brought together when they want to cultivate a particular habit, and every day they have to inform about it. Did they read Bhagavad Gita or not? Now everyone opens WhatsApp and there's a particular group reading Bhagavad Gita. And when you open it and you see, let's say there are 200 members in the group, and everyone is saying, I finished reading 15 minutes, I finished reading 15 minutes, you will be forced to read. And that is how we build a routine. So don't tell it, keep it to yourself. Tell your friends, tell somebody, who reminds you or who you see is reminded of, अरे इसको बोला था, मुझे पूछेगा, और मैं मना करूँगा तो मेरी बेइज्जती होगी. So we have to put ourselves in that pressure. That is routine. And third, reward. So how reward functions is, reward is something which kind of a way of encouraging yourself that what I am doing is right. What I am doing is good. And how to do it? Create a group. Of course, it depends. You can apply in a personal life. But generally, for any spiritual things, I generally create a group. And we define those activities. We tell them, you inform about it, announce about it when you have done it. When they do it, we acknowledge. So and so Prabhu has done reading for 15 minutes, a big round of applause, or let's say Hari Bol. Then when people acknowledge to that, it gives a great sense of satisfaction. Here, association makes a lot of difference. For example, somebody has to become an alcoholic. It's but natural to be around alcoholics, isn't it? Because when you come along with them and when you drink with them, they'll pat on the back. बोलेगा बहुत अच्छी चीज है, सीख गया, चलो लगे रहो. Yes, have you noticed or not? Nobody picks up alcohol at home by itself and start drinking it. It doesn't taste anything good about it. But when you are in the circle, it automatically comes because there is an appreciation and there is a recognition. So if you want to create a good habit, you have to find a like-minded people with whom you live, and though they encourage you on that particular habit. So association makes a huge difference. So that's about creating a good habit. So far, okay? 3 steps. What is the first step? Trigger. What is the second step? Routine. Third step? Reward. A way of appreciating and encouraging oneself. So you know that what I'm doing is the right thing. Everyone acknowledges it. Therefore, I have to do it. That's the way of creating it. And psychologists say if you do it repeatedly for 21 days, then it goes to subconscious mind. Which means now you cannot live a day without reading. You have to read for 15 minutes. That goes into subconscious mind like that. Now, this is about creating. Now, how about dealing with bad habits, or how about giving away bad habits? That's also an important subject matter, isn't it? How can we do it? How many of you would agree at this point of time, we have struggled with it at time and again, maybe for some time we got a success, but often it leads to relapse. For example, the simple thing which people talk about dealing with bad habits is replace it. Let's say smoking. Sometimes people replace it with overeating. They eat more sweets. And then what happens? After 21 days, they have gained 10 kgs. And then they become so frustrated, I look so bulky. Then they think everything is useless. The moment you become frustrated, and the old habits attack you again, and then you go back smoking. Now you don't smoke a cigarette now. With the compound interest, you pay the dividend for last 21 days. Yes, it's a fact. If you look back within your life, you will relate to it. If you have starved from certain bad habit for a while, and if a relapse had occurred, we have gone into the extreme of doing it. Imagine you haven't watched a movie for a few days, for weeks, or a month. Because of some exam or something like that, you were fasting from a movie. And now that thing is over. I have seen people sitting and watching movie for straight whole day. Movie after movie after movie after movie. How many have seen that? It must be a very common factor. Yes or no? So a person goes into relapse and he really go crazy about it. So how to deal with bad habits? A 3-step formula. Winning a battle with a bad habit. First, awareness. Second, avoidance. And then comes replacement. Replacement has to be there. But again, it has to follow into an order. Awareness, avoidance, and replacement. Let's take a look at what is awareness. So awareness means acknowledgement, recognition that this is a bad habit. If that itself is not there, how many of you would agree, let's say for example smoking. Those who are smoking don't often think it's a bad habit. And therefore they continue to do it. Raise your hand. They think, what's the problem in it? Yes or no? Even if you talk to your friend and tell him, yeah, this is injurious to your health. बोले यार कुछ भी नहीं है. ऐसे injurious health के लिए है, so you're also a passive smoker because there's so much smoke, pollution outside. Have you seen people justifying it? So unless a person has this acknowledgement and awareness, it's a bad habit. You really cannot break yourself from bad habit. Which means if you're pushed into a rehabilitation center, nothing gonna change. I need to acknowledge, I need to understand this is what, which means that's it, I have to give it up. I cannot live with it. This is a bad habit. So that awareness is there. Bad habits, there are some simple, there are some serious, you all know about it. This is a college student presentation, so I speak about all these things. Smoking, alcohol, I'm going to just rush through with that. Gambling, this is 4 things that Krishna speaks about in Bhagavad Gita. And when gambling, when Krishna met, after 7th day, when Pandavas had gone to the forest, they were in Kamyaka 1, present-day Haryana. On the 7th day, Krishna came to meet Pandavas. And Draupadi and Krishna had a conversation, long story short. Krishna and Yudhishthira is talking to each other. And Krishna asked Yudhishthira, Yudhishthira, what did you do? Why did you gamble? I know as a Kshatriya, you couldn't say no. But it isn't that you lost it first time, you lost it second time. And you know you're going to lose it. And how miserably you were insulted and defeated in the first time. How can you do so? So long story short, Krishna told Yudhishthira, a lesson for all of us. Even if you're as great as Yudhishthira Dharmaraj, if you engage in any of these activities, you will lose your intelligence. If you get into this gambling or any of the 4 vices, smoking, drinking, gambling, and the 4th vice, smoking, drinking, intoxication. 2nd is gambling. 3rd is a meat eating. Single most cause of heart disease is animal fat ingestion. This is the doctors say that. 30% of all cancers can be prevented by giving up meat eating, etc. And the 4th is illicit relationship. This is what Bhagavad Gita and Vedic science talks about it. To living a healthy and good life, we should refrain from these 4 bad habits. Why? We have discussed this shloka before. Let's take a look at it. First shloka for today. Please repeat after me. Ye hi sansparshaja bhoga dukha yoniya evate adi antavanta kaunteya nate shuramate buddha. We have discussed this in the past, if I'm correct, so I'll give you a quick summary of it. Krishna saying, Ye hi samsparsh ja bhoga. Bhoga means enjoyment. Sense objects. You approach a sense object. That sense object means from which you get pleasure. Anything in this world, sense object. Whenever you engage with anything of this world with an intention to enjoy sense object, dukha yoni evate. Yoni means garbha. Mother gives a birth. So dukha yoni evate. What comes out? Dukha. Who is speaking? Lord Shri Krishna. When you engage in sense pleasure, there is only one thing that takes birth. Dukha and dukha. There is never a pleasure. Adi antavanta kaunteya. Why? Krishna now gives an answer. Why? Adi, beginning. Anta has an end. Because it has a beginning, it has an end. You cannot enjoy it forever. And when it ends, How many of you experienced we become frustrated and lost again? Khatam ho gaya. What's next? Adi andavanda kanteya. Therefore, nateshu. Those who are buddha, intelligent, ramate. Ramate means enjoys. Those who are intelligent, they do not get into this subject matter of dealing with sense object. They do not do it. I'll give you a simple example I've given in the past also. We have got so heavily conditioned thinking that happiness means gratifying the body, fulfilling the needs of the body, eating, mating, defending. Like this. Sleeping, eating, mating, aha, nidra, bhai, maituna is what life is all about. It seems to be, it's not at all. Imagine you love gulab jamun. You really love gulab jamun, you haven't had it for months together. And let's say you've come for a program, you're sitting on the ground and they're serving you gulab jamun. No, not serving gulab jamun, they're serving you dinner prasadam, something. And in that, as a sweet, gulab jamun is served. Everyone has been given two, but only you, the fortunate soul, has been given one gulab jamun. How many of you think that's the biggest offense of the day? How dare this rascal give me only one gulab jamun? What crime did I do that I got one gulab jamun? You'll be upset. And the server recognizes and realizes that unfortunately he made a mistake, gave you one gulab jamun. He comes back and as a part of repentance, he gives you 3 gulab jamun. You're full of bliss, you're full of happy. Oh great, I got 3 plus 1, 4, everyone got 2, I'm so great. Anyways, he goes back, everyone goes away, and you're still sitting. Now he comes back thinking extra gulab jamun are there. Isko khila deta hu, bhai ko kyun bura lage? He comes and feeds you 10 more gulab jamun. How many of you say, आप बोलोगे, यार दूसरों का भी ध्यान रखो, सारा मुझे ही खिलाओगे? Yes or no? Now you immediately will begin to think about it. Imagine he opens your mouth and feeds you forcefully 10 gulab jamun. You have already eaten 4. And somebody comes from behind and says, अरे इसको बहुत पसंद है, 10 और खिलाओ. Now 2 men are holding on to your hands and chest, and 1 man is making sure your mouth is open. And one by one they're putting gulab jamun as if they're, this is like billboard wala box or basketball, putting a gulab jamun. Imagine you have eaten 30 of your favorite item. How many of you say you will become miserable now? What is the sense pleasure? Think about it. Anyways, we have discussed in the past, move forward. So awareness, let's go to step number 2 is avoidance, which means keeping away from such things. Very interesting scientific study, watch it carefully. You can switch off the lights.
Okay, sit in that chair. All right, here's the deal. Marshmallow for you. You can either wait, and I'll give you another one if you wait, or you can eat it now. When I come back, I'll give you another one, so then you'll have 2. But stay in here and stay in the chair till I come back, okay? All right. I'm gonna go do something and then I'll come back.
It smells yummy. It smells really good.
It's a very famous case study done by the Stanford scientists about what we are talking about it. The shloka that we read from Bhagavad Gita is an experimental work on that. Let's take a look at it. Let's see if you understand it. I would not have time to take more discussion, but I'll give you the answer. But at least you can watch it for the time being. Just to let you know what's an experiment about, just like gulab jamun is a favorite for you, marshmallow is a sweet. It's very famous among the kids. So kids have been told, there is a marshmallow, you can eat it and walk away.
Right, so it's up
or
to
you can
you
hold on.
Now or you can wait.
And if you're able to wait, I'll give you 1 more marshmallow. If you wait, I'll give you 1 more. So now their patience has been tested.
Stay in the chair, okay?
Patience is tested.
Okay.
Can they hold on to or no? We don't know, they don't know how much time they have to wait.
Alright, so I'm going to leave and then I'll come back, okay? So you can either eat it right now or you can wait. Either way, okay? Okay. How'd you do?
Successful.
Did you do good?
Super
good?
excited.
You wanted to eat it, didn't you? Yeah. So did I tell you to give you another one? Okay, now you can have both. You need them.
Very, very famous case study and research work. Uh, Let me give a conclusion. It'll take time if I have to take an interaction from all of you. Maybe one or two inputs. Let's take one or two inputs is worthy of it. Any quick thoughts? What did you saw? What did you learn from here? This case study went on for 20 long years. So what happened? These are young kids, and then they monitored them and studied them for the next 15 years till the time they became teenagers, and then they went to college, and then they started earning. And then they saw what did they become or how did they live their life. All right, let me summarize over here. Those who were able to control themselves, refrain themselves, or restrict their senses, they went on to become very successful in their life. And those who gave in very easily into sense objects, they struggled with their life because they allowed their mind to rule over them. But those who were able to say no to the mind, they were able to restrain, control themselves, and become successful and went on to become very successful professional. You can go and look into this case study called as Marshmallow Test. It's a video recording of that. It's a whole research paper published. What I said is a summary. You can verify for yourself. And this is what we just saw about, yehi sansparsh jab hoga. So 2 steps we have discussed about giving a bad habit. First is awareness. Second is avoidance. And the best way to avoid is to not be in association of those people who also do that. Best way is to have a right association of those people who are looking to live a life and build a good character. If you are in association with such people, then everything happens automatically. So, avoidance. Krishna says, please repeat, Ragadvesha vimuktastu Vishayan indriyaschan Atma vashiye vidhyatma Prasadam adhigacchati. But a person free from all attachment, aversion, able to control his senses through regulative principles, freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord. Human life is a life of responsibility. It should not be wasted on deadly attractions. And the third step for giving up or breaking a bad habit, after awareness, avoidance, now you can do replacement. But when people goes into replacement directly, they acquire something else and then that becomes a bad habit, like overeating, like this. Not knowing that how much I should eat, how much I should not eat. That's our point. Awareness, avoidance, and replacement. So what is that? Krishna speaks about it. Let's take a look. Everyone loudly. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina Rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. This means chapter, and after the decimal refers to the verse number. The second chapter, verse number 59. How to replace? Krishna says, give me the smaller one. Param drishtva nivartate. Develop a higher taste. If you want to give up something, you have to find something of a quality. If you develop a taste for it, lower taste will automatically go away. So how to say no to bad habits? Three things: sustain and abstain method, triple S. The first, starve bad habits, which mean abstain from bad people and bad objects. First thing is you have to give up the association of an individuals from whom you learn or you get encouraged to those things. Second thing, association, give up association of information, which also encourages you, which largely means today's social media and whatnot. They generally encourage you all the things which actually Vedic science says not to do it. That is starving bad habits. So you're giving up to association of an individual, bad people, bad association and association formation. Second step, supplement good habits. So supplement good habit means add on good association. Again, association of good people, saintly people, and association of information. What information? Like Bhagavad Gita. I'm telling you, it's worthy of cultivating a habit of reading 15 minutes a day. Try it, and within 3 months, if your life is not changed, come back to me. We can discuss about it. Your life has to change, 200%. Just 15 minutes a day, if you can have a habit of reading Bhagavad Gita. That's how you sustain good habits, or build on it, supplement good habits. And third, stay away. Stay away from all the tempting environment and association. You cannot be in that environment and think my bad habits will go away. Mind is very powerful. Unless we have become completely prone, completely immune to those bad habits, then you can be around in that situation and not get affected. You can ask those, there are many youth who are actually, you will see while serving, and those who are congregation, you'll see there are many congregations also as a volunteer. I would request all of you, just don't believe what I'm saying. Go and ask them. Every one of us has some or other bad habits, not some, many bad habits. You can ask them, can you give me one simple example of one simple bad habit? How did it went away? And I can tell you, it just happened automatically. They didn't even have to put a conscious effort. Only effort they had to put it is make sure supplement good habits. Take good association. Even if you're able to just take good association, that will also fix many of the things in our life. Ask people who you meet around. They're on this floor, many congregation, many youth, talk to them and then think for yourself like that. So, change our attitude, behavior and thinking. I guess this is a tab. Maybe I can quickly summarize in 5 minutes. We'll see this in detail later on. So the point is we have to change our attitude towards our habits. Accept responsibilities for the habits that I have picked up, for the careless indulgence and for picking up the wrong company. Which means attitude means I need to take a responsibility of my life. I need to acknowledge I am responsible for what I am today. And I am responsible for changing myself. I should not pin a blame to anyone else. That's a point of attitude. Second, change your thinking to fix the behavior. You have to think about it. How does this habit affect me? What are the consequences? And how it's going to affect my future? That is the meaning of thinking. It begins with, this habit is nectar in the beginning and poison at the end. How did I get into this bad habit? What can I do to diffuse this? I refused to let this hook me. Now I will give up bad company. I will replace it with good company. So that thought process has to begin. That is called a step formula. Thinking, attitude. And lastly, the behavior. Change your behavior to the habits. What does behavior means? There are two kinds of behavior. One is called reactive. Other is called as responsible. Reactive and responsible. What is reactive behavior? If anything happens to you, it's a standard response. There is no thinking involved into it. What is responsible behavior? When there is a stimuli, then you think, what are the choices that have available to me? And among all the choices, then we make a responsible decision. This is the one I am going to use for my response. That is called as responsible behavior. And reactive, life is just flowing. No thinking about it, no discrimination. This is irresponsible life. That is actually a life of an animal. Animal, if you think, they work a lot on what they call as, what's the word? Instincts. There is nothing to think. If they feel hungry, they just jump onto it. to the instincts. That's not what we are supposed to. We have to live a responsible. So we understand if I behave like this, that's the consequence. If I behave like this, this is the consequence. That awareness and understanding is needed. So steps needed to change our behavior, that will take some time. Maybe I can take this discussion later on. Unconscious incompetence. Okay, let me just summarize what it is. So it all begins with unconscious incompetence. Unconscious means, for example, let's say driving a car. Unconscious means I don't know. Incompetence means I don't have the skill. Which means there is no thinking about it and there is no skill. That is unconscious incompetence. The second is conscious incompetence. This is how the mind functions. Conscious incompetence is now you have decided that you are going to learn driving. That's a conscious decision. Incompetence, you don't know driving. Third step, conscious competence, wherein you join a driving school, you have made a conscious decision that I'm going to learn driving. You go and get registered in a driving school and you spend 15 days or 7 days of training and you become competent to drive. That is called a third stage, conscious competence. And when you begin to drive every day, then it leads to unconscious competence. As I said, you get into the car, put your hand on the steering wheel, ignite the car drives. You don't even think about it. That is how we can move from leaving the bad habits to cultivating the good habits. And that is what responsible behavior, how we can change that. So steps needed to change our behavior, and this is the beautiful you, the new incarnation of yours on the top of it. Why is it difficult to break? Cognitive scripts, these are the unconscious automatic thoughts that we have when we encounter a situation. How to say, maybe I'll conclude with this, how to say no to bad habits. I guess I have spoken about it. Let's forget it. Let's come to the step 4. So we discussed 3 steps of giving away the bad habits. What is the first step? Awareness. What is the step 2? Avoidance. What is the step 3? Replacement. But yet, in certain bad habits, you will be helpless. You will still not be able to give it up. Do you recognize any such bad habits? For example, can you name any one bad habit which you think is very difficult to give up? Any one bad habit? Huh? Anger. What about lies, speaking lies? How many of you acknowledge it's not a good habit? And giving it up is so difficult. While promising also we speak a lie. So conditioned we are. Anyways, so when going becomes difficult, then comes the 4th step, and that is praying. Extremely powerful. Power of prayers. Please repeat after me. Very famous and very important prayer. Oh Lord! Oftentimes, many of you might be going to the temple. People don't know what to pray to the Lord. People go and take a selfie with the Lord. Bhagwan bhi sochte itni dur aaya hai. Photo khichne ke liye hai. Kya murkh aadmi hai. They go and then put it on the Facebook and Instagram. I mean, what a big thing about it. All right, you go to the temple to pray to the Lord. What to pray? This is the prayer you want to memorize. Oh Lord, give me the courage to change the things which can and ought to be changed. The serenity to accept the things which cannot be changed. And the third, the wisdom to know the difference. To know the difference between what I can and I cannot do it. Prayers go up and blessings come down. And when you pray, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, please repeat after me, 9th chapter, verse number 22. Ananya chintayanto ma ye jana parupasate tesham nitya viptanam yoga shemam vahamiham. But those who always worship me, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. Yoga shemam vahamiham. To my devotees I protect them. Which means if you pray to the Lord, prayers are never unheard. Only thing is, we have not prayed enough. We have only taken enough selfies. There is nowhere written in Bhagavad Gita, if you take enough selfies, yogam shemam vahamiyam, I shall protect you. To conclude for today's discussion, good, we are concluding today only. So we discussed about what are habits, how are bad habits formed, two functions of intelligence, discrimination and determination, understanding the conscious and the subconscious mind. I gave an example of driving for that. And how to form a habit. What are the 3 steps for forming a habit? First, trigger. Second, routine. And third, reward. Great. And we also talked about how to say no to bad habits. There are 3 steps to breaking the bad habits. By the way, how many steps? 3 or 4? 4. Good. So what are the 4 steps? First, awareness. Second, third, replacement. And the 4th, please repeat after me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So you may or may not remember the prayer that I told you before. This is a very simple prayer. Huh? While taking a selfie, selfie is allowed, no problem. While taking a selfie, you can say this prayer. Repeat after me again. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone could memorize that? So thank you all for your kind attention. When we catch up next time, next Saturday, we're going to talk about from intolerance to understanding. A guide to cultivating tolerance. There is a need for cultivating tolerance? A lot of need for tolerance. With that, thank you for your kind attention, being a patient listener, and sorry for being a little late today. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So many times people pose this discussion or session whenever I do on this about giving up bad habits and creating good habits. They often ask this question, where do we have this opportunity for right association? So, good news, we have started a program. This had been going on for a while, titled as Soul Sanctuary. It's a week-long program. For a week, you live with a monk. So you come and live with us in a monastery lifestyle, but you don't have to take a holiday or anything. You continue with your job. We'll have a sandwich program in the morning and evening, like that, where you come and live in our environment and experience the life away. When you come in, those who are going to sign in for that, my request is, it's just like anywhere you go and take an admission, there are certain rules and regulations. So I'll give you basic premises or prescriptions. Just stick to that for 7 days. Nothing rigid, huh? Don't worry. This will be very simple regimen. And then live your regular life. Only thing is, morning and evening we'll meet up. We'll talk about things. We'll have many fun-filled things. We'll have yoga. We'll have some lessons on musical instruments like we did kirtans. And, things about dealing with professional pressure, competition, etc., etc. The management side of discussion, as well as discussion about self-help. How to grow, how to become a better person. So it's a program that runs for 7 days, starts from, I believe, Sunday up to the next Sunday. So the next program is scheduled to happen from 16th July, which is Sunday, if I'm correct, 3 weeks from now, up to the 22nd July, which probably should be Saturday. Like that is a 7-day program kind of a thing. So many times I'm asked, can we have in-house training? So here's an opportunity. Anyone of you interested? Just to put a disclaimer, it's only for boys. So any boys are interested for that, you can come and meet me. I'm over here and we can talk more about it. Thank you. Hare Krishna.